the direct vote for Senate is like the worst thing that we've done.
Literally
Senators
the
don't represent the people.
So I was asked when I was going to go work for Americans for Prosperity at one point. When the interview, one of the questions they asked me was if I could make a change to the Constitution, what would it be? And that was my answer. I said remove the 17th Amendment, and it was funny because according to them, they never heard anyone suggest that. They heard people suggesting adding amendments, amendments to strengthen things like the Second Amendment or reaffirming stuff like the First, but they didn't have anyone who ever said get rid of the 17th at that point. And I had to explain to it, no, like, listen, this would fix the majority of problems currently in our country. Right there. There's no such thing as a silver bullet, but damn it, it is close. All right? It is very close to a silver bullet when it comes to fixing this country. The whole point of the Senate, we like to talk about the three branches of government, obviously, the executive, the legislative, judicial. The thing is, though, there was another check and balance built into our country, and that was the Senate. The fact that our senators were elected by the state senators, or really, the states can decide how they set their senators, I guess, but for the most part, the senators you elected to your state senate would come together, pick two amongst them to send over to represent the state, not you, but the state's interest. And because of that, you didn't have this crap where it's, senators going around and having to it was never meant to represent the people. You need something to keep the state's rights intact. And now we no longer have that. We have popular vote for everything basically now. And it's just complete lunacy. It makes absolutely no sense to have senators when you already have congressmen for that purpose. The purpose of the Senate is to secure the rights of the state, nothing more. And that was the check and balance when it came to the problems that came about with democracy, as well as the problem that came about with having a strong centralized power like the presidency. Like that, without that checks and balance in place, we will always lean to the evils of democracy, not the good parts of it, because we have too much of it right now. Democracy is I think it was Aristotle that said democracy is the shortest lived and bloodiest form of government there's ever been. And he's 100% right on it. And we have to protect ourselves from the dangers of democracy to our fullest extent, because right now, that is what the Democrats are pushing. They are trying to get us to a pure democracy setup at this point, where even the president will be elected by pure democracy, letting places like, of course, New York and California crush smaller states whenever they wish. It is the biggest way to get to a strong centralized authority where they have full control over everything that happens in the country. And the 17th Amendment was that first domino to fall, in my opinion, when it came to getting us to where we are today.
So we can go through the Google archives. We can go through every archive known to man. There's never been a more impassioned speech about the 17th Amendment. you really, man, you brought the energy and the passion for the 17th repeal. I like it.
It's just we keep looking for the answers to our problems, and it's right there. It's right there. Just repeal the 17th and we will fix. Because here's the thing. Even in states that have Democrat senators, guess what? If it was the state senators that decided who would represent them, those are majority Republicans in those states. When you look at stuff like Illinois, their state senate, usually in most elections lean more Republican, not Democrat. What happens is, of course, the popular vote gets the governor to be a Democrat and stuff like that. And then, of course, the popular vote pushes the senators over the edge to the point where they have Democrat senators. But in a lot of these states that are Democrat controlled, they would have Republican senators who would be representing the interest of the state's power instead of course, the large centralized force of people in places like Chicago. It's the closest thing we got to a silver bullet. I can't think of a single thing other than that would bring more positive change in this country. Maybe the 19th. No, I'm joking.
Well,
it would bring the positive change when you look at the stats. I'm just saying.
We can look at taxes and fiat money might make a pretty decent change for some things too. But
get rid of the Fed. That probably would be a bigger one.
I do like the fact that you are advocating to take us back to being a republic, because that's the way we're supposed to be.
Well, 100%. I mean, I think there's that old question of where are you more likely to find justice? And the options are a king, a council of elders, or the populace overall. And of course, all of those are corrupt to some extent or another, right? You know, obviously the king, dictator powers, they can say wherever they want. You're not going to find justice with the king. You're not going to find justice with the populace because it's mob rule, right? If you had pure democracy, there's a good chance things like slavery might not have ever ended. I mean, it would have ended far later. Same thing with segregation, because guess what? White people were the majority. If they wanted to keep it in place, they could have easily done so if they really wanted to. Of course, Council of Elders, well, then you have some class issues where they could start oppressing people, similar to what happened when you look at, I forget what they're called all of a sudden, in Rome, with the way the senators were separated from the people to such a dramatic degree that they didn't even concern themselves with many of the problems that the, plebeians were facing. It was, you have to have actually all three of them in place to properly balance each other out. We don't have that anymore at all. We don't have a Council of Elders. That's the one thing we're currently missing in our governance. We need to bring it back. I know people go, well, that's buying into the concept of having...
We reserve the executive branch for our elders.
That senior living home thing was funny with Biden. That was hysterical. The White House senior living. But no, it's a
that was a dilly meme.
It comes from this whole idea that people want to believe in equality, but not in the way it should be believed in, right? People, when we talk about equality, we need to be talking about the sense of we're all born, at our very soul, we are equal, right? At our very soul, we are equal. Other than that, we are terribly unequal. Guess what? Someone who believes in flat Earth versus someone who can show me the science and satellite imagery of the Earth, one of them's more equal than the other when it comes to advice I'm going to listen to. There's nothing wrong with saying, no, these people are really dumb and should not have I'm not going to care about their opinion, and these people are much smarter on the issue and I'm going to care about theirs. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever, and we do that in our day-to-day lives already. We don't sit there and take, maybe I should rephrase that. We shouldn't take advice on how to lose weight from a fat person, right? It's not what should be done. Unfortunately, as I say that, I realize we actually kind of do in today's world, unfortunately, but when you look at who's in control of most health departments these days.
I'm just disappointed that you don't believe all the evidence that we live under a dome on a flat surface. I can't.
We're on a turtle's back as he goes through space.
You're falling for that trap of living on a sphere. You really think so?
What about the ice shelf? I mean, come on. Why have we never gone through Antarctica? What are they hiding there?
Yeah, that's just a big wall. You don't want to get on the other side of that white wall.
People back in 1,000 or so BC didn't calculate the circumference of the Earth. That's all a bunch of baloney. That doesn't actually happen. Okay, well let's jump to something.
The great thing that we do agree with is, regardless of whether there's truth in this and this is a conspiracy or not, every voice should be heard so that we can make fun of the dummies.
Yes, everyone should be allowed a voice. Not everyone should be allowed to vote.
And I'm telling you what, man, the comments on the shorts are going to be classic. This is going to be fun.
Well, listen, with all of our,
I just don't want to be guilty by association here. I got a reputation.
I'll crop you out. Make sure you're not. I'm just saying. I mean, Robert Hyland did a great job. Service guaranteeing citizenship. No, I don't want service guaranteeing citizenship, because then they can decide what type of service that is. That is a utopian vision, not a realistic one overall. It's great book though. Totally different than the movie. It's not even remotely fascist. They're a libertarian paradise actually overall for the most part. But you do need restrictions on who can and can't vote. I think there was a video going around recently of a guy going out to all these people and asking them, hey, if you're trying to get 80 miles, if you're trying to go somewhere and that's 80 miles away and you're going 80 miles per hour, how long will that take you? And the amount of people, I know they cherry pick this stuff, but the fact you can find anyone over the age of 12 who can't figure that out. I'm sorry, the person who says 2 hours on that question should never be allowed to vote. In fact, there's a chance they probably should be put in a possibly like a mental institution to be checked out, because I don't know I can't fathom how you can be so stupid. Yet they find tons of these people, and their vote counts just as much as yours does, and it's bizarre.
So the old saying is, and this was a George Carlin joke, as a matter of fact. He said, "Think of how dumb the average American is, and then think that over half the people are even dumber than that." Right? Except I think he said stupider, which
I think he
is
said
always a
stupider
funny
too.
word.
Yeah.